Okay guys, I want to tell you a little bit more here about our Windows Explorer computer window, however you want to call it. Just a little bit about controlling how the files appear in your right pane here. If you come up here, you can see change your view. Here you can change the view of how you want items to be listed. You can make them very large icons. You can have very small icons. You can do just a list of what's there. You can do details, so you can see such things as when an item was last modified, what that item is, lots of different options. And you can also change what you want to be shown here. If you right click in this area, you can say, let's say you want the folder path listed. You want who authored that. If there's certain tags that have attached to that file. Lots of options here. You can also change these around, move them around as you see fit. A lot of customization allowed here. Now if we go into this example folder here, I just want to show you here, as you, rather than navigating here on the left side, which you can always expand or collapse based on the arrow there, to see what is in there, and that's what we typically refer to as our tree structure. You can do that up here as well. You can click here and you can see what all is available in libraries. In libraries and documents, we could see what all is available here and just simply jump to a folder that way. I'll go back to my example folder here. You see I have my file here. If I click up here in the address bar, you can see all of that information is displayed once again there, so I know that my correct path to get to this file location. We also have forward and backward arrows here so that we can go back to where we were. If we know we wanted to go back into that folder, we could just click the forward button to go back in there. Lots of options there. We also have a search feature here. We could go in here and you can see right now it's saying search in the integration services script. That's the current folder we're in. We could also change that. We could, if let's say we knew we had a lot of files called example, we could start typing in example. And we could add search filters such as the size of a file if we knew that. If we really don't know the location, we could click on our hard drive itself, our root directory here, and we could type in example. And we could just click on the enter key and it would do a search for anything with the word example in the parameters, and it would do the search. Now I want to go back in and talk a little bit about the libraries. Now there are 4 default libraries that are created whenever the Windows operating system is installed, and these are documents, music, pictures, and videos. Now these first 3, the documents, music, and pictures, those can all be accessed from the start menu by default, as you saw earlier. Documents, pictures, music. And we can also use them, as you're seeing here, the computer window or the Windows Explorer window here, to access these libraries. We can also create new libraries. As we're in here, we can just right click, create new library. Let's say we had a bunch of PDF files that we have for service documents for some of the equipment we are servicing. We could just call these service PDFs. Now essentially we have a new folder that we can put these in, or we can access them from different locations on our network or drive and point them here. So if we double click there, we see we have nothing there, but we could start creating folders now in our new library. Another way we can do that is just right click on libraries here and create new library. If we went to one of our libraries here, we could right click on there, check out the properties for that, and we can see the location for those libraries. And you see that we can include folders from other locations as well to be included in a library. If we have a library we don't want to be shown, we can uncheck that here so that it's not shown in our navigation pane. Okay, now I want to go back into something I was talking about earlier in how we can view or change options assigned to folders. So let's say we'll take a look at our example folder here. Now I want up here to organize folder and search options here. Let's click on view here. Now if you were working on someone's account or you've created user profiles on other on your computer, I would recommend making sure that this is checked for those users, that you don't show hidden files, folders, or drives, because this can create a problem if a user accidentally deletes a system file or an important file. If there's a file that's hidden, it's hidden for a reason. On the opposite end of that, there are different viruses out there or malware that will go on and change these options or change them on an actual file. So sometimes you might need to go in and click show hidden files when you're troubleshooting from a virus attack, because you're like, oh, these files aren't there anymore. Well, go in here and see if this option hasn't been changed, or change it anyway and see if you can't see those files. Then go into that file itself and change the attributes on that, which we will do in later lessons. But hiding system files, very good practice for making sure that users or customers don't see those hidden files that they could accidentally delete and create greater problems. Okay, let's talk about creating a file, and I've kind of already showed you ways to do that with, it's essentially the same practice with creating a folder or a library. If we wanted to create a file, in essence, if we had an application that we want to create a file in, let's say Notepad, we'll use Notepad. We've just put in some text. So we're using the actual application, file, save or save as. We could save this document, pick a location, we're going to give it a name. You can see the extension that it's going to have, the save as type. This is a text document. If we had other, sometimes with like Microsoft Word, we have many different options for extensions based on what we need. If we want a PDF file, if we want a Word document that is in an older format, because we know that our customer that we're sending the file to, or an individual, that they are using an older version of Microsoft Word, we could change that so that they could open the file and not have any issues, because we have the ability for backwards compatibility, where obviously having an older application, there's nothing that was created for forward compatibility, not knowing what the developer was going to create as an extension in the future. Now, another way we could create this file is, rather than being in the application itself, we could just pick an area where, let's say we want the file to be located. In this area, we're in our documents folder. Let's say I create a new folder. We'll call it test. Now, within this folder, I want to create a text file. I just right click in the open area that I want the file to be located. New. Whatever applications I have will be listed here when I go down to new. Let's say we're just going to do a text document. We'll click text. We'll just call it test 1. We'll hit enter now that we've given it a name. Now you can see I have a text document. If I double click this, it'll be opened up in a Notepad as expected, and now I can put information in here and save it. Now my text document is still in the same location. You see that I have 9 bytes of information now. I modified it just now. Double click that, my information's there. I created a file without actually being in the application itself first. You can always rename files too if you have, as an admin, you don't want your standard users to typically be able to do these on important files, but you can right click on a file, select rename. You can just click on the file one time. You'll see that the file name is now highlighted in blue, and you can give it a new name. Hit enter or click outside of it, and now that file's been renamed, but the data that is embedded in it is still the same, has been unchanged. Creating a folder just as easy. Here we go. New folder. Click that. You bet it. It's new folder, and we can give it a name. Or we can right click in this area, select new. Oh my gosh, there's folder. We have a new folder, and we can give it a name. Now, speaking of folder names, we do have some limitations. The maximum length of a path and file name cannot exceed 260 characters. This is essential in a business environment. When you start using network paths and you get departments that have their own share on a network drive, and they start creating folder upon folder upon folder upon folder, and then long file name stuff, when you have to recover those files or copy or move those files, you can have problems because Windows will say, hey, this exceeds the 260 character limit. So make sure that you share that information with your customers in an organization so that they know that there are limitations, that just because you thought it made logical sense, it really didn't, and now you've created future problems in case something happens to that file. Next, we talk about copying, moving, deleting files or folders. To copy, you have lots of options. Big surprise, right, with Windows. You can right-click a file and select copy. You can, and we'll say we want to paste that. We'll just go ahead and put it here in new folder. We can once again right-click. And we'll select paste. And there is a copy of the file. We'll go back and that original file is still there. We could also use our desktop shortcuts using Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. Now if we want to move a file, we could do the same thing. We could right-click here. We could cut this, and that would essentially remove it from this location, and then we could go to the new location and paste it. That would move the file. We could also just kind of hold our mouse on there, right click is what I was using, drag it to a location, and with my left click select move here, and that would move the file as well. Using a click and drag method is very simple. It can also create problems with users as they get click happy, not paying attention. They move files to new locations and now they can't access it. Then you're getting requests for, hey, I've lost a file. Now on the dark side of things, we can also delete, and this is always tricky because sometimes, a lot of times, people accidentally delete files. Now we can simply select an item, hit the delete button on the keyboard. We could drag an item to the recycle bin, and you'll always know if there's files in the recycle bin because it'll look like a trash can with a bunch of wadded up paper in it. Right now we can see that it's transparent, so we know that our recycle bin is empty. If we right click on our recycle bin, this is grayed out, so there's nothing to empty. If we right clicked on there and this was an active option, we would know there are items in there, and we could just simply open that to see what is located in our recycle bin. Then we'd find out that, oh, somebody moved a file in there accidentally. We can restore that file to its previous location by just right-clicking on the file and restoring that to its previous location. Last thing I want to talk about here is the selecting of multiple items, and we can do this in different ways. If we're going to copy or move several files, we can use different keys for selecting adjacent or non-adjacent items. Let's see if I want to select some adjacent items. I can click this, I can hold the shift key, and I can click down here, and all of these items are now selected. If I wanted to click items that were not adjacent, we could, let's say I'll click on AdventureWorks here. Now I'm going to hold the control key down on my keyboard, and I'm going to select this random folder and this random folder, let go of the control key. You can see how they are all highlighted now. If I click on one of the items with my mouse, with the left click, if I go to move them, you can see that I have a 3 located there. So all of those items are going to be moved as one item.